Yeah, so here we go again. First off, I have not been grocery shopping, even though I am sitting here in the car and talking to myself. I decided I was tired of being ill, so I left my flat for a change. I was starting to get a backache and knee aches from bed rest, so decided I had to move. So what did I do? I got into a diesel vehicle and drove to here, uh, fairly close to city centre. Sorry for the traffic that's passing by in the background. The joke is you should not be able to hear it, at least not from my test. So that's something, I guess. Mm. One thing I've come to realise is I'm sweaty AF currently, but I suspect that may not be due to me having been ill or being ill or recovering from being ill or whatever you want to say, because it's currently 24.5 degrees centigrade and I'm sitting there in long trousers. And it feels like fairly high humidity too. I didn't check that before I started recording, so I'm not going to be able to. But yeah, I suspect that might just be the reason for me sweating these days. Like, I don't know how recovered I am from being ill. I'll probably show up at work on Tuesday because Monday's a bank holiday, so I won't be able to. For reference, today's Saturday. Just to remind my chief of getting me a report before I leave and stuff like that. And to stay in touch and to get myself accountable to try and fix my circadian rhythm. Because of all the things that I've suffered through my being ill in the past half week, I guess, my circadian rhythm is the thing that I've suffered the most by far. When I say I've suffered, I've been going to bed at like sunrise. To sleep. I've been staying most of the time in bed full stop. I guess it's like circadian rhythm is not very dependent on when one go to bed, more as to when one go to sleep and when one wake. Sorry for that, I'm still recovering. Um, I guess to the point where today I actually slept through a package being attempted to be delivered. I'm not sure they actually rung my bell because my bell is pretty loud, because according to my sleep tracking, I was in deep sleep. So I guess that happened. I'll be able to pick that up on Tuesday or Wednesday as well, so it's not too bad. Though, admittedly, the package is just drugs. I decided I'd buy some medicine for a change, even though my household don't have none. Not because I have an acute need, but because I reckon it might be handy to have some. In this case, I'm talking about 400 milligram tablets of ibuprofen, as the trade name is. Which I know I'm calling drugs and all, and some people associate drugs with the illegal substances. But in the end of the day, they are just prescription, or in this case, not even prescription medication. But they're also drugs. I mean, coffee is a drug. This is a drug, for fuck's sake. And it is only tobacco. Though within a few days, we'll have legalization of grass in some orders of magnitude. I don't know how I feel about that, to be fair. I generally don't mind. In my opinion, they could decriminalise all the substances, because what's the point in sticking someone in jail for using a substance? At some points, for a lot of people, it's not a choice no more. It's just an addiction. Hello, here I am smoking. I have actually considered smoking every now and then once it will be legalised, but I still don't like the idea. Same as I don't like the idea of drugs for ADHD. In that case, it would be prescription drugs because it would basically be amphetamines or very similar substances. But the reason I don't want that kind of stuff is because I want to be able to operate this here, a motor vehicle, in traffic on public roads and safely without any liability on my end in excess of the regular. Which means I do not want to be under the influence of any illicit substances for operating heavy machinery. Which probably also includes ibuprofen, to be fair. And I'm probably too honest to not declare it, so yeah, I guess that's my loss. The punishment I get for being honest, because We can't reward honesty, can we? Friend of mine who used to operate a motor vehicle, though admittedly in the countryside, never in city life. Now they live in the city and they do bicycle and public transport. They brought up some aspects about my driving style, which I guess re-sensitivized me to some degree, to the point where, of course, purely hypothetically, because I'm not going to admit to committing anything. My speeding of up to 10% over is now down to less than 1 over, which is about as strict as it was 2 years ago. I still get to the speed as quickly as one can, and today that caused some issues in just getting here, which is only a half hour's drive, more than 10 minutes of which was traffic because I decided I'd drive the scenic route, which is currently gridlocked due to demonstrations. Disadvantages of living in the capital of a country, I guess. Of people just pulling in front of me braking and starting a death spiral, a vicious cycle, I guess is the correct term, not a death spiral, of me starting a vicious cycle of me braking because someone pulled close in front of me and start braking, then the person behind me being fed up, pulling out and pulling in shortly in front of me and braking. I don't know how to handle that, because in the end of the day, with the rules of the road of this country, one is supposed to look out for others, but that also means they aren't supposed to pull in front of me with short distance and not enough for me to be comfortable. Of course I can just keep going like a maniac, but in that case I'll be endangering myself and them. No point in that, but I also can't have them tread on me. My cable tow is longer than it should be, I suspect. So I believe the correct terminology for this. Yeah, I should it's kind of odd because it's two very different spheres, none of which I am part of, the Don't Tread Me and the cable tow, but one can see very different spheres of life can in fact overlap or have similarities, because life just has some fixed points. No matter which area of civilization you're in, you'll have some points which you need to address, like don't tread on me or watch the length of your cable tow. One thing with cable tow, because it's a Freemason term, well, it's dominantly used by Freemasons. I am not one. Wouldn't want to give the impression I am. Though I may very well aspire to be one within a year's time. If so, then I'd be an entered apprentice and one would not be asked to share one's being a Freemason until Master Masonry, so you might hear about that in 5 years, who knows. The thing is, the Freemasons are a collection of very old organisations, and due to being old and in some forms ancient, their time doesn't run the same. So I am wondering when it's adequate to reach out again, because I had reached out to a lodge in this city half a year ago, and I've yet to get a response. Understand the time scales for things are slow, but half a year I would have hoped for a response, to be fair. I guess I'll probably reach out again within the next half year, and at the point in time I'm comfortable in life, which I'll hopefully be in a year with a job and all. If they haven't come back to me, I might just drop in. So I've sent you a couple of emails. Hello. I'm sure they'd be open to it, because in the end of the day, just as Christians, there is certain values which one sees. I guess scholars of any religion, to be fair, though that is to exclude the extremists of any religion, and to be clear, Freemasonry is not a religion. just as scholars of any school of thought, let's say it that way. Yeah, that works. Just the position of the title brings some pre-earned respect with it from me toward them, whoever they are. Same as if you're a police officer, which is an occupation, which is not even a school of thought. You are supposed to be respectable and do the right thing and all. Sadly, it's not always, but there is bad apples everywhere. In all walks of life, one will come across those. It's just with some schools of thought or professions, one might deem the probability high of coming across bad apples. And in my case, for Freemasons, mad respect, I deem the probability fairly low. So if I know someone to be one, I'll trust them more ahead of time, which I guess is not fair toward non-Masons, particularly as I'm not one myself. Hell. But that's how it works, I guess. Same as a policeman or a priest. Even though I am not religious in that way, which opens up another hurdle, which is the idea of believing in a supreme being, and I wouldn't want to be intransparent, but is also not really up to be discussed. So in the end of the day, that might be what caused me to not feel adequate in joining or asking to join eventually. Because I do believe in the universe working in mysterious ways and things greater than a human. I don't know if those things are something I would call a deity, which is a requirement for joining. Next to, due to it, as before mentioned, being an ancient organisation, for regular Freemasonry, one also has to have a penis, and testicles preferably. Which I guess is how it is. I mean, there's things like Order of the Eastern Star also, which are affiliated, which are some of exclusively for women, so meh. Hell, these days we've reached a point where, depending on your sex, you're discriminated just with apps. There's dating apps that come to mind, which I guess is a thing that happens. Funny how that works, really. Sorry for this huge tangent. It's really hard to not have individuals affect one's interpretation of certain positions, either school of thought or occupational or whatever. For example, with religion, I used to have a real hard time, particularly to close relatives on both paternal and maternal side. Some street racing going on, you might have heard it, sorry if you did. Up to 3 years in prison for that. On both paternal and maternal side, I have people whom one might identify as religious extremists. I don't think they're going and killing anyone, but still, I'd still deem them to be extremists in my eyes, which had poisoned my perspective on religion for a long, long time. And I'm happy to be free of that limitation. And what did that for me was actually the podcast No Dumb Questions with a priest or pastor. Pastor is, I believe, the preferred term. Matt Whitman, and a rather Christian man. In the positive way Christian, or descriptive way, but not negative in this case, of Destin Sandlin of Smart Everyday fame, a edutainment YouTuber. And they really changed my stance on the whole thing, which I'm happy to say, because I'm less close-minded now. Admittedly, this was more than a year ago and all, but I'm just thinking over it because that's how my brain works. In the end of the day, it is really hard to not have perspectives on groups of society spoiled by few individuals. Same with the Plod, for example. One might have negative interactions with them. One might have more than one negative interaction with them. But at least in principle, I don't have many experiences to base this on, but at least in principle, it's supposed to be honourable people who do the right thing and work on doing the right thing professionally. Then again, I know more than one person who would disagree on that statement. It's funny how that works, really. And this is, I mean, I've lived in this country and grown up in this country in all my life, Germany. And this is in no way, size, shape or form a police state. There is many a country on earth where the public image of the Plod is significantly worse. Sorry for that, I'm pretty sure you heard that thing going by. Where it is worse, I mean, no matter which direction one looks, unless it's, I guess, north, there is worse experiences to be had with the Plod. Whether you look at east of here, west of here, south of here, there is plenty of spot to have worse experience with the Plod. And there's not that much north of here, admittedly, but I suspect, based on what my understanding of it is, north of here, which would be Denmark, Norway and Sweden, wow, Scandinavia, I believe it's less likely to have bad experiences. Then again, this is a belief, it's not founded in anything. I have not been to any of those myself, and even if I haven't lived there long enough, or I will have never lived there long enough to have a whole picture of what, for example, that occupation brings with it in those countries. It's funny how that works, really. Different topic, complete subject change here, just because it's on my mind. With having been bedridden for the past 4 days, excluding today, because I'm not bedridden today, I'm here, hello. I like driving in my car. I've actually reached a point where the ADHD was so annoying I started eating myself. There would be any bits sticking out in the mouth, not pleasant, I'm not going to show, no worries. Chew on them because first off ADHD and second off probably OCD symptomatic of being autistic. Then again, I'm not mental health professional, could be any of many other things, but same thing for my fingers. I've chewed just about everything one can on the end of my fingers, so skin and all nails. Skin and nails, really. It's kind of funny how that works, because one would think eating oneself is one of the last things a human would do. And that, if so, then out of desperation. Yet here I am, doing it to occupy my mind. It's just nuts. And because I am sitting by a fairly popular road here in the city centre, the Straße des 18. März, I suspect, I'm not 100% on it, but 17. März perhaps, street of the 17th of March, I believe, which is after historic date. Don't ask me, I'm not a historian, I'm not fussed enough about it, but it's 3 lanes each way, or 6 lanes in total. Behind me there's some lights, so traffic going the other way is lined up all 3 lanes. and going this way, they come in bursts. And the crazy thing with the bursts is, I'd suspect in every other batch of cars coming my way, the way I'm facing, at least the first 2 or 3 are speeding not an insignificant amount. I mean, there's a child walking over there with its dad and some scooters. Actually, 2 children with dad, mum, 3 children, sorry, with dad, mum and some scooters. Not even 5 metres from the road. And there's people speeding 15 over, 20 over, some more. Okay, this one was, for example, a diplomatic reg, so just now sped by, but I mean, diplomatic reg is beyond the plod of the country. But it is part of the Ministry of Exterior, because, surprise, guests should behave adequately as well. Then again, one can't blame them if the people who are off this country manage to not abide by the rules either, because they aren't enforced. So it's not like one can say, oh, you're a diplomat, you're not supposed to. I guess one can. That's the same thing with plod and lawyers. Don't matter if others speed, if you're plod, you're not supposed to be speeding. Unless it is for work, of course, in which case you do have a permit. And perhaps flashy blue lights on top of your car. Completely different tangent again, because flashy blue lights on top of your car. I did a voluntary social year before studying, so that would have been ended close to 3 years ago. No, more than 3 years ago. 3.5 years ago, actually, is when that ended. And if I were to have to do a voluntary social year again, in that case, I'd done it to qualify for uni, because I didn't do enough of regular school. I dropped out after 12th grade, never did 13th, because it would have been an extra 1.5 years due to a bicycle accident, long story. But if I had to do a voluntary social year again, I'd probably want to do it in an ambulance, not on a school. Just because you do get to drive from cars with flashy blue lights on top. And the net impact on Earth in a positive way is bigger, in my opinion. And I guess you get more skills. Though then again, the skills depend on your place of voluntary social year. It's funny how that works, really. Another completely unrelated subject. One thing I noticed a few weeks ago I was really good at work I noticed, but it's not particularly work related, it's a general life skill, is clear communication of, excuse me for the background audio, I hope you can't hear it, I might have to check this, but I don't think it was anything legible, and if so it's just background audio, is I'm really good at communicating explicit number letter combinations, because, surprise, I am fluent in the NATO alphabet, which I believe the International Telecommunication Union formalised in 1956-57, which to my understanding makes it so theoretically anyone doing telecommunication should be able to, but nah, apparently it's not a normal skill for people to have, and I guess I would like to have it, or I'm happy to have it. I don't need to want to have it, I already do. Which is crazy. But it's something I'd almost expect everyone to. That's just because I am the one bar I can see. So I am the norm, so what I can do everyone must be able to. And everyone who's able to do excessive of me must be absolutely mind-blowingly smart, because I am limited in my understanding of the world and perception, and the one benchmark I do have is myself. It's the only benchmark I'll ever have, because I'll never be able to look into another person's head, figuratively, not literally. Which is, I guess, funny as well, because I don't have a full understanding of myself. I mean, for how I'm doing emotionally, I use my indicators, which is my daily statistics for cigarettes while driving, cigarettes, total coffee consumption, and showers. I mean, I did have a shower the day before yesterday, so I'm quite happy about that as well. Just to see how I'm doing emotionally. I mean, I'm about 1,300 days into tracking, which is not an insignificant amount, but I spent less than a day coding it in Apple's Shortcuts app, which is basically just macros for iOS. Macros as a concept, Shortcuts being the brand name of their app. And it's crazy because I claim to understand what's going on in here. Then again, I use this here, the phone, to help understand what's going on in here, because I'm not in touch with myself enough, I guess. Weird how this shit work. Actually, that was a good thumbnail. There we go, and thumbnail's taken. I forgot to put the phone on Do Not Disturb, and I just got a message. Oh no. Do not disturb until I leave. There we go. Problem solved. It is really humid and hot out, so I believe my sweating is no longer a symptom of me being ill. It's just the weather. I'd be sweating in this if I were perfectly healthy. That might just be me rationalising though, but it's 24.5 degrees centigrade at 6:30 in the PM, and I'm not even speaking of shade because there is no sun. It's overcast. I'm hoping we'll get a fun thunderstorm sometime soon. That'd be nice. I'd like a thunderstorm. It'd feel like good weather for a thunderstorm. And with a thunderstorm and lightning and the high energy sparking of voltage differentials between clouds known as lightning, I like the fact that those split oxygen molecules and other molecules, and you get some ozone, and the smell of ozone after thunderstorm is absolutely one of the best smells. Other good smells, in my opinion, are a carbureted engine exhaust. I don't know why particularly a carbureted one, but I guess it's just some affiliation I have. A proper workshop smell. WD-40 smell quite nice, even though that's brand name. And to be fair, it's only smell that way because perfumated, but still smell rock solid. Funny how things work, really. Yeah, anyways, I think I'll start getting home soon enough. Now seemed like a good time because you won't have been able to hear me proper because of that ambulance with flashy blue lights, which you can see up there. I'll try and get home before dark, and I'll actually try and fix my circadian rhythm, because driving will have been exhausting to some degree. I might step out for a little walk, but I'm not going to record nothing because there's too much background audio outside. Yeah, anyways, hope you're in touch enough with yourself to not need indicators such as statistics to figure out how you're doing. And if you do need them, I hope you have them. Anyways, stay safe. Cheerio.